Hello everyone, welcome to the 225 Q&A. We're going to start off with Plaintiff Questioning, and I will read this at 225, and this is a deposition transcript. All right, here we go. Ready? Mr. Gailey, could you please state and spell your name for the record? Stephen Gailey, S-T-E-V-E-N-G-A-I-L-E-Y. My name is Andy Photo, and I represent Daniel Carubius regarding an incident that occurred in March of 2013. Are you familiar with Daniel? Yes, I know him. The nature of these proceedings are known as a deposition. Have you ever taken a deposition before? No, I haven't. Have you had an opportunity to discuss the nature of these proceedings with Ms. Powell before we started? I believe so, yes. I'm going to lay down a few ground rules so we have a clear understanding of what's going to transpire here this morning. The person sitting to my left to your right is a certified shorthand reporter. She has just administered an oath to you. It's the same oath you would take if you were testifying in a court of law. Do you understand that? Yes, I do. Even though a judge and jury are not present, it's the same oath. Do you understand that? Yes, I do. If you note, she has a little machine in front of her today, and at a later time, she'll transcribe her cryptic notes into readable English, and you'll be given an opportunity to read through your testimony as it's given here today. You may make any changes and corrections that you deem necessary and appropriate. Do you understand that? Yes, I do. I must caution you if you make any material change, and by material, I mean if you testify something is black today, later on when you read your transcript, you should at a later hearing testify and use the word white. That's a material change. Do you understand that? Yes, I do. If you make that type of change, myself or some other lawyer will probably comment on that change. Basically, we're going to be calling you a liar in some manner, shape, or form. Do you understand that? Yes. I'm not here to trick or fool you. Rather, through a series of questions and answers, ascertain what information you have based upon your personal knowledge regarding the facts and circumstances that bring us here today. Do you understand that? Yes, I do. Can you tell me where you live as of now? 19854 Kingswood Lane in Huntington Beach, California, 91854. How long have you lived at Kingswood Lane? Just under a month. Prior to Kingswood Lane, where did you reside? 6616 Carroll Street in Paramount, California. How long did you live at the Carroll Street? 8 years. From 2007 to March of 2014? Yes. Do you remember when in 07 you moved in? Not exactly. Did you own or rent at Carroll Street? I owned. You purchased it from the Fortises? That's correct. You were present when this incident involved Daniel occurred? No, I wasn't. Do you have any information as to what time it occurred? From my recollection, it was late afternoon. Do you have any information as to what the date of this incident was? I don't recall. March of 2013 sound correct though? Yes, I think. In March of 2013, were you employed? No, I wasn't. On the day of this incident in the afternoon, do you recall where you were? Yes, I was out checking on a job. Your usual and customary occupation is what? Auto mechanics. Do you have a son, Stephen Jr.? Yes, I do. About the same age as Daniel? I'm unsure of Daniel's age, but my son is 8 years old. Had Daniel ever been to your residence prior to this incident? Yes. Do you recall how many times? Quite a few times. Just knocked on the door and asked for my son. At the time of this incident, do you know where Daniel lived? I don't know the actual. I could knock on his door, but he was 3 or 4 houses away. On Carroll Street? I believe he's on Summit, which is real close. I live by the corner. In March of 2013, was there a pile of bricks in your backyard? Not to my knowledge. Was there a pile of bricks in your front yard? No. On the date of this incident and at the time of this incident, do you know who was present at your residence? My son was home and my 2 nieces were walking back from my neighbor's house 2 doors down. And your 2 nieces are? Crystal S. Gailey and Belinda A. Cook. Crystal is how old? She's 17 now. Do you know where she resides? Where does she live? With me at the Kingswood house. And Belinda? And also lives with me. How old? 15 years old. Do you know if either Crystal or Belinda, strike that. Do you know if Crystal witnessed this incident? I don't know for sure, but all I know is from what she told me, they were walking from the neighbor's house at the time this happened. That would be true for Belinda also, that you don't know whether she witnessed it or not? Correct. Did your son, Steve Jr., witness the incident? I'm not sure. When did you first understand, strike that, Do you recall what time it was that you first understood something occurred to Daniel at your residence? I don't know the time at all, no. As I said, I was just returning from checking on a job, so I don't even know what time that was. When you returned home, were the paramedics present? No, sir. Had they been gone? No. Had they been summoned? No. Did the paramedics ever arrive? Yes. And do you know who called the paramedics? I believe it was my niece. I told her to call. Okay. Let the record reflect that Mr. Doak just entered the room. In order to bring you up to speed where we're at, Mr. Gailey has lived at Carroll Street since 2000, lived at the Carroll Street from 2007 to March of this year, 2015. He now lives in Huntington Beach, I'm sorry. He was not present at the time of this incident. His son, Stephen Jr., and his two nieces, Crystal Gailey and Belinda Cook, were present and may or may not have seen what occurred. That's about it. The other thing, he purchased the residence from the Fortises. When did he say? In 2007. Mr. Gailey, was there a wall that separated your property from your neighbors? Yes, there is. And that wall was where? Located where? Are you talking of the wall where the incident occurred? How many walls do you have? 3. If you're standing out in the street looking directly at your front house, where would those walls be in relation to the house? 1 on each side and 1 going across the rear. And the construction of the wall is of what materials, if you know? It's concrete blocks. And how tall is the wall? 6 feet. Is it 6 feet all the way around? Yes, it is, but it also has extensions which are spaced 8 feet apart where I can, because there's a pool in the backyard, it's made to have something across to actually make the wall a little taller. The back wall, the portion of the wall that runs across the back of your lot, has extensions on it? Yes. About how far on the sides? Well, and these extensions were spaced, every 8 feet? Approximately, yes. And what would you use to make the extension? What kind of material? Well, in the rear, there's the wood in between. Wood, like tongue and groove, going across. So the groove would be one thing. I've seen other walls where they have the rippled fiberglass, which comes in sheets. I guess that's mainly made for, like, pool homes. The extensions were, you had wood extensions all around on all 3 sides of this wall. Well, the extensions actually now are brick, but in between the brick and the 8-foot span is where you would put something across. I have wood in the rear. The sides were never completed. And does the wall run, the walls on the sides run from the back wall all the way to what, the front of the house? Yes, to the front of the house, correct. Is there any extension of the wall that divides your property that runs to, like, the sidewalk? Well, you know, yes, on the east wall, it's a shorter wall. It's like, say, 3.5 feet tall that comes to the side of the wall. Constructed of the same material? I'm not sure underneath, but because it's stucco on the outside, I'm not sure. 6616 Carroll was a corner house? No, it wasn't. There's my house. There's an empty lot, the same width of the house. And then there's a corner house. So as you're standing in the street facing the front of your house, to the left, there's an empty lot? Correct. To the right, is there another residence? Yes, there is. And what is the residence, the address of that residence? I really don't know. There's condominiums across the street, so the address jumps quite a bit, so I'm unsure about that. The incident involving Daniel occurred on the wall or with the wall, as far as you know? As far as I know, yes. And do you know which portion of the wall it occurred upon? Whether or not it was the back wall or one of the side walls? It was one of the side walls, I believe, yes. Looking at the front of your house from the street, it would have been the right-hand side of the wall or the left-hand side of the wall. It would be the left side, facing the empty lot. Wait a second, yes, the empty lot is to the right side facing my house. The residence is on the left side if I'm facing my house. So you're standing out in the street, you look at your house and to the left is an empty lot, or you mean another house? To the left is another house, correct. And to the right is an empty lot, correct. And which side wall did this incident occur, with the left or the right? The left side. Do you know when the Carroll Street house was constructed or built? I believe it was on the deed. I believe it said something like 1950, I believe, 48 or 50. Did you just sell your house? No, I actually lost it. Was it in a foreclosure? It was a foreclosure. Do you have any of the escrow papers when you purchased the house between the purchase from the Fortises? I really don't know. Being that I just moved, I would have to dig through everything. I'm unsure about that. Do you recall where the escrow was? Not exactly. What's your best estimate? Ontario or something seems to come to mind. If you were to look at home, For any documents relating to the purchase of this residence from the Fortises, where would you look? Do you have like a box of papers? Yes, I have boxes of like my previous mechanic shop that I owned, and I had all of that in my shed, so I'm pretty sure that I have it. I just really have to search. Being I moved pretty quick there, I had to throw a lot of things away. When you purchased the residence from the Fortises, do you recall if there was any discussion between you and your real estate agent regarding the wall at all? No, I don't. Do you know if the wall was jointly owned between yourself and the other people next door? I had thought it was. I never really got into it, but I had thought that. I don't know. I just had known from the past that I thought people usually go in together to take care of different walls and fences or purchase a wall to put between them. Is there the house to your left? There was a wall that separated between your house and that house's property. Is that correct? Correct. Was there another house next to that house to your left? Yes. Do you recall if there was a wall also that separated its lot from the neighbors? Yes, there is. It had the appearance at least similar to yours? Yes. Was there ever a survey done of your property? Survey meaning what? Somebody comes out and measures the property lines. Not to my knowledge. Do you know what a surveyor's little marks look like in the ground? No, I don't. Your belief that the wall was jointly owned by your neighbors next door is just based on what? Just your belief? Yeah, it's not that anybody told me this or anything. I took it for granted, let's say that. Do you recall if there's anything in your escrow papers regarding the purchase of the property from the Fortises that indicates either way of the ownership of the wall? No, not that I know of. The wall on the sides, is it cinder block? If that's what you like to call it, yes. It's like white cement colored blocks, approximately 1 foot by 6 or 8 inches. And the mortar between the blocks on your side of the wall is what? Smooth, finished? What do you mean by mortar? What's the mortar? Was there some sort of material between the blocks? Yeah, there's like a little, about a finger width gap of, looks like concrete, I guess. And was that finished in a sense? It wasn't rough and sticking out of the bricks? No, nothing like that. It was nice looking. Do you know what it looked like on the other side of the wall? The same. Finished? Yeah, just unpainted cinder block, I would have to say. Did you ever paint the wall? No. Did you at any time during your ownership have to repair the wall? No. What is your understanding as to where this incident involved Daniel occurred? Where it occurred? Correct where? To the left side of my house. Front or back? The front, nearest to the front of my house. I'm going to object as hearsay for the record. Go ahead. I would say nearest to the front of my house on the left side. In the front yard or in the backyard? In the backyard, just into the backyard. What's your source of that information? From where the boy was. He was crawling from, as I got home, my nieces came running out saying some boy had just fallen or something. So as I ran through my home, out of my backyard and around to that side where they had directed me, that's where the boy was coming from. You arrived home, one of your nieces told you that Daniel had fallen? They met me at the car, yes. Can I have a continuing hearsay objection to that? Move to strike. Sure. You drove up, parked in your driveway, is that correct? I don't know if I parked in my driveway or in front of the house, but one of the two, yes. Your nieces came to your location at your vehicle? Yes. And both of them came? I believe Belinda was the one that came. And what did Belinda say to you? She said someone had fallen inside of the backyard. And in response to that, what did you do? I ran through my home and out the back door and towards the left of my home where they directed me to go to look to see what was going on. The wall that comes to the front of your house to about, it is maybe 6 feet in height. Yes, it goes from the very back of my lot to stops at the front of my home. And it's 6 foot in height. Is that right? 6 foot in height there. Then from the front of my house to the sidewalk, now it's only about 3.5 feet tall, and that's the stucco type which matches the house. So between the wall on the left-hand side of your house, is there some sort of distance, space? Yes, there is. What's the space? The average space that they usually are, I would say approximately 4 feet. Do you know what the lot size was for that property? I believe it's 50 by 145, 145 feet deep. Yes. And that would be from the street to I don't know, this is a very vague memory of what I originally saw on the title and stuff. I don't know if it's from the sidewalk back or, it's a pretty deep lot. I will say that. All right, that concludes our Q&A practice for the 225 class.